for also for technology transfer to get industry and academics together. And now we will have a talk about the European views on technology transfer. So the talk will be of Viorel Peca, and he is head of division at the European Commission. Viorel has a background also in communication and electronics, and he has worked at Alcatel, so he has background from companies both in Romania and in Belgium, and then he moved to the European Commission in 2008, first as an analyst, but now he's head here of the unit, and we will have a talk about technology transfer to bridge the gap between academics and also the industry and SMEs. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It is an honor and pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be in the historic city of Berlin, and definitely a pleasure and an honor to be in this famous institute, one of our biggest, I would say, customer in framework program, and especially in network media for our unit, and a pleasure to present this subject about bridging the gap between research and innovation. That is both important for the European Commission and very close to my heart, as you will see in the next slide. But it's almost like two topics in one. So it is, as you probably know, the European Commission is discussing the next framework program to support research, and it is the 8th framework program in support of the research. But in the same time, it is perhaps the first one to include innovation in an integrated way. So I think this gives a certain message about the importance and the fact that finally we see that innovation, the research is not necessarily, cannot see in an, I would say, isolated way. Just research, that's an important thing, but it needs to be integrated in an ecosystem. And I think the previous presentation and this project, it's also going exactly in the same direction, and actually it's a great initiative to bridge the gap between the innovation and research. So okay, there are obviously several possibilities and I won't say solution, but to how you can bridge the gap between the research and innovation, how you can bridge the so-called valley of that when you have a good research, but that you see that it can result in good I would say products that will strengthen the competitiveness of the European industry, which is one of our goals. So I think it should start in the beginning. How you select the projects, the research projects, right? Another means is the CIP program, which is, as you know, in force today. In Horizon 2020, there will be, obviously, like I said, it will be perhaps the first one of have an integration between research and innovation. And another way that we are looking into it, and it's an initiative that within my unit, is about web entrepreneurs, and why not entrepreneurs more broadly. Well, you have the impact section, okay, which is talking about dissemination, exploitation of results. So perhaps this aspect in the current FP7 has not been, I would say, emphasized enough. So, and I definitely, for me, I see in this part a way to somehow increase the odds of having the good results in research somehow moved into into the exploitation area. Obviously, this is not to enter into the discussion between the fundamental research and applied research. Obviously, we are talking here more about applied research. We are not talking about FET or frontier and so on. Okay. Another, I don't say innovative, but definitely I like it very much, and I'm looking forward for the rest of the framework program to framework program 7 to enforce this, is by using the coordination and support action. And I'm really happy to show the EMC Square project, but we have other projects like SMART. And I'm looking forward for the next work program to have more CSA that are really dedicated about this scope. And I think this is a great area for CSA to bring their contribution. Now, about the CIP program, that's definitely to address the innovation. Unfortunately, the firepower it's a bit reduced, but I'm pleased to announce that in the next CIP 2012 to be approved end of this year, and the results or the project to be announced, let's say the beginning of next year. We will have, so specifically our unit will have an objective there with a budget around 14 million euros, and we are looking for 1 or 2 pilots to have sophisticated connected TV. Okay, so keep an eye on this on our system beginning of next year, and we are looking forward to receive very good proposals that are definitely close to the market, and that tends to bridge the gap between the research and innovation. Like I said, in Horizon 2020, there will be measures. Now, it's still early, okay? So I can only give you some high-level, let's say, lines about about SME, where not only the R&D but also demonstration and pilot feasibility phase will be funded. But apart from the, let's say, in Horizon 2020, apart from the instrument that you know today from FP7, obviously Horizon 2020 will integrate FP, the framework program, but also the CIP and EIT. So apart from the current instruments that you know, there will be new instruments like prizes and debt and finance equity instruments. So the details to come in the next year. Now, if we move to strengthening the environment for web entrepreneurs, well, basically there is this starts some time ago with some working groups between the CEO of European, let's say, social networks, resulting in 2 workshops in the digital agenda 2011. So there were quite some proposed action, which we did a feasibility study, and we selected a few of them, and also put this in a bigger scale of a certain strategy. Okay, so the question is, why do we need this? Okay, in the last let's say in the last year or years, I would say, we see that this web economy is coming back, and we need to do something on this, because there is a drain, if you want, of people that are migrating to US basically to fulfill their dreams and their idea, and that's a pity. There are a lot of statistics, let's say, like from University of Maryland, saying that the web economy created around over 180,000 jobs, and so on. So I will. There is a lot of reasoning behind this. I will not get into this detail, but we basically thought that a strategy around 3 pillars. So first of all, catalytic activities to create networking, to create, let's say, an environment where entrepreneurs can get in contact with mentors, with VC capital and angels. Awareness creation, both in the public and in the institution, European institution. And the last but not least, let's say, education system. Because the feedback we receive is that there needs to be some change in the education system to be more supported for web entrepreneurs in particular, but also in a broader sense about entrepreneurs. And if you look at the differences, we see that, and also in this pillar, it's if you want to talk about broader things like how the failure is perceived in Europe and versus the US and so on. So this is I would say the strategy is focused around three pillars and phases as well, because we wanted on one hand to start working on it immediately. Actually, we started, as you can see, immediately after the DAA in the summer of this year, where we took a look at all these proposals, 56 around, and we did a sort of feasibility, both internal and external, and we selected around 10 of them. Okay, and we are now started to the implementation with 2 or 3 actions, and we will use the digital assemblies as a kind of milestone, as you can see, so that we can blend both the short-term and long-term action. Okay. I was talking about this set of 10 activities that are spread around the 3 pillars and even at a congruence of 2. So we have the catalyst, the awareness and creation. And now, I would say in the next remaining time, I will dive a bit into each of the action and give some details so that you can see more concrete aspects. What are we doing there, and why not participate? So you will see how. Let's start with the bulletin board to connect entrepreneurs. You see there the structure that we had in mind, very high level. But the idea is to create an online place that not only inform but also connects the entrepreneurs with the mentors and incubators in order to improve the business climate. So the different players are there. Some timelines is there, and we are quite aware that it's not an easy thing to do, and that we can use all the help that we can get in the next months to make this a success and to increase the awareness, because obviously we are starting from zero basically. If we move to the next one, which is the European Web Entrepreneurs Camp, here the idea is to basically to look at the different entrepreneurs camps that are all over the Europe, and to add there an European dimension, because that obviously is the added value that the Commission can bring, and to not only to generate buzz, but to give the create the momentum. And the best place to do it at the moment is the digital assembly, digital agenda assembly in 2012. So I will not get into this detail, but I can only say that we will launch in this week, commercial call for tender to find, let's say, a third party that has experience and can help us to organize this but not only to organize this in a professional way, but to make sure that we can reach the best, let's say, camps in Europe and select the best idea for a European contest. If we move now to the next action, awareness creation, okay, within a European institution. So the idea is to create awareness about the needs of the web entrepreneurs. Not only because I think this aspect is not, there are some let's say action in this area, but the things are moving so fast that we cannot let's say do nothing on that one. So it's a multi-dimension. As you see, it's not only the workshop between the European Commission officials, venture capital and mentors, but we are even going about the role of media in promoting the web entrepreneurship. And I'd like to underline a bit this aspect, because if you look at if you want the difference between the US and Europe, I think in the US the entrepreneurs they are how to say, advertised or promoted in a role model. When you see about their name, it's always put like creator of and founder of and so on and so on. And this is not enough in Europe. There are a lot of success stories, and not only big success stories, but even at a more local and national level. And while there might be some, let's say, some programs or showing this one, I do not see across Europe a systematic approach. So we should do more, or the media, both private and public, should do more to let's say, promote the entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial spirit in Europe, because you can put a lot of measures like reduce the entry barrier, reduce the taxation, etc. These are all needed, but let's not forget about the drive, about the spirit, and I think here there is a difference between the Europe and US, probably because of I would say historic reasons, but we should work to have more entrepreneurial spirit in Europe, and that people should also in their top 5 options see that becoming an entrepreneur is one of them. So why not? If we move to the next one, so we want to use a crowdsourcing exercise to gather idea about what would be a more medium and long-term strategy for web entrepreneurs, let's say, targeted on this one. So this is another action that is, let's say, starting now, and we will launch in the next week a tender about that. The idea is to use a platform to launch this one. We have identified already several platforms. OpenIDEO is one of them, but there are more. And we will launch this exercise. It's not a big tender, obviously, but we saw that it's better to put a small amount of money and to like a kind of prize or how to say, motivation to get good and original idea, like what can we do. So this will be also launched. So first to identify such a platform will be launched in the next week, and you see the timeline. So end of this year, beginning of next year, we want to launch this crowdsourcing exercise, and then to announce to have the final results and include them in the current strategy that we have till now. If we move to the next one, we launched already a study, so for a scoping paper about social network in businesses. We all know about the social network, there is nothing new about this, but we want to see, okay, really have some figures about that, especially in Europe, take into account that social networks are already for some time moving now from let's say, personal to business, and see how identify the stakeholders, and even find some new, eventually discover some new methods how to increase the role and the impact. And again, you see the digital agenda assemblies as milestone. We hope to have an interim report, and this study has already been launched with GRC in Sevilla. If we move now to the next action, more on the education pillar, we would like to inform and have a dialogue with the member states about training and education needs. So this came from these workshops in that digital agenda, with the remark that in the university curriculums, in special, there is a lack of subjects pertaining to entrepreneurship, but not only about business and so on. So this was, and that it would be good, for example, in a technical university, to study not only the technical, let's say, matters, obviously, but to have something more about business, about economy, about entrepreneurship in special. So we hope to have there a workshop at the end with institutions from member state, and even present best practices. And by that, I already started some time ago to engage and to discover best practices around Europe, because for sure there are already institutions that have a good practice on that one, and we are definitely keen to present them and to initiate a discussion on this subject. And I think that the companies and let's say very innovation-oriented institutes like Fraunhofer are very keen on this aspect. It's both of technology, if you want, a push and pull mechanism in the same time. So if we move to the next action, we hope to start a dialogue between the web entrepreneurs, social networks, and our services about the data, the big data from social networks, because obviously there is data protection issues and sensitivity in Europe. But in the same time, we cannot neglect this aspect. We cannot just say, okay, no, we cannot use this data, because there is an opportunity there. And I think already in the US, they are moving in this one. And there are companies offering access of this data through from social networks. But not an easy thing to do. Standardization. So, okay, standardization is more obviously about the how to say established products and protocol, but it is acknowledged that in order to have products, you need standardization. So there is this drive to bring standardization and the dialogue between research in general and the standardization body. So we want to see how can we help in this regard. And another action that was identified is about the innovation hubs around top-class universities, and this might be a particular interest to Berlin. Because obviously the example here that I would say that is setting the bar is the Silicon Valley, and the question is, okay, obviously in Europe there are particularities, but how can we create in Europe, in several places, if ideally this ecosystem that you have one or several top-class university, and then you have the whole ecosystem around that, where you have the startups and SMEs, the venture capitals, and corporations. So that when an idea comes to market, somebody has an idea that it can be, that we increase the chances and the speed by which it's put into the market, via a startup, via an SME, or even in a corporation via a spin-off from a university, via a spin-off, because you can think of a top-down or a bottom-up approach. Top-down, if you want, that you look into the future, you do some studies, some surveys, looking at a crystal ball, and you say, oh, this technology are poised in the next, 5 years to be big and to be dominant, like 3D, for example. But you might miss some other things, or you might be wrong. So then, why not think of, if you want, put in place a process and an environment that will take care of this thing, if you want, in a more grassroots. So, and perhaps increase the chances and broaden the scope. Somebody has an idea, it will be tested, and it might be put to the market in a shorter way. So that's the idea about that. And going to another one is we talked about using, or if you want, reusing the prize for as a tool to encourage. And we are thinking about a prize for best European web entrepreneurs. And it's not about the money, the amount of money. It's not that really huge, but it's more about the recognition, the public recognition that we want to signal through this public. And obviously the DA 2012 and afterwards the next ones, it's a good and natural, I would say, place for giving this prize by our commissioner and like this we are sure that we'll have the recognition and the press and the buzz and so on and so on. So that is, I would say, the last. So we already started working on 3 of them, and we hope to have the results in let's say early next year, with the goal to for sure to present them at EA 2012. So I thank you for your attention, and if there are questions, it would be my pleasure to answer. Thank you.
I had one. So you mentioned several measures for strengthening these entrepreneurs, but you also mentioned this idea of crowdsourcing, and to me it looks like something that is at the very first step of a new company being founded. So do you also support companies with financing for establishing a new company, or is it more for companies that are in a later stage that are supported?
So we want to use the crowdsourcing exercise to get some ideas on what would be let's say a more medium to long-term strategy for web entrepreneurs. Okay, so that is not for example for crowdsourcing funding, for example. Okay, no, that's just for the idea. The European Commission and especially the DG Enterprise has some, I would say, more generic activities on financing through EIB, for example. I think that although there are quite some, let's say, money involved, these things are not known enough. Okay, and by the fact that we are, let's say, focusing at least in our unit on the web and to bridge the gap, because if you the disadvantage of having a broad scope is that it's too broad. Okay, you need to be a bit specific if you want to draw the attention, because if it's too broad, it's just shooting the sky. Okay, and I was reading the other day a report saying that although there are a lot of money there, a lot of them are not used. I don't know why, because of the difficulties in implementation. As you know, the EIB is not intervening directly; it's just finding partners like different banks in member states, and perhaps that makes it difficult. I don't know, but definitely we wanted to be focused on web entrepreneur, and through our actions and including the bulletin board, to bridge the gap between these startups and access to finance. It's one of them, definitely. So we will, let's say, end of this year, beginning of next year, after we have the, let's say, we aim to have the endorsement by our commissioner in the beginning of December. So at that moment we are really, like we have the go from our commissioner and from our hierarchy, and we will engage with DG Enterprise, which has this more firepower, if you are regarding the funds and so on, and we will bring them on our websites for web entrepreneurs. Okay, but it will be more indirect rather than direct. We are not a finance institution and so on.
And you mentioned also this lack of spirit in Europe for setting up small companies. I think that's true, but it's a difficult task to add more spirit to the society, because it's more involved, or other things are also involved. So,
of course.
Are there particular ideas to increase that spirit and to get more people into that?
Yeah. So I see here two things. So first, we will engage with let's say the broadcasting corporation, both private. There is an event in Brussels with the ACP, but also the power plant. So we will let's say contact and try to organize a workshop on this theme. At the same time, we plan to engage with IMSO unit on media, because we have network media obviously, but there is the IMSO A1 that is exactly about the media, and I've scheduled a meeting with them to see what can we do on this and this. But you are right. I mean, it's it's very, I would say, difficult, especially at the unit level, to have some impact on that. But on the other hand, it is crucial. I think it's again, if you don't have this spirit, you can put all the measures in place, and you can do it. If you want, it's an enabler. Because if you have this spirit, even if the conditions are tough, you will have something. If you put the ideal condition and so on, and you have not this entrepreneurial drive, it's the results. I mean, there will be something, but definitely not at the scale compared with if you have this driving spirit, and especially in these difficult conditions, it's even more difficult.
Okay, yeah. So fortunately, some of the people here in the room have that spirit. So are there more questions? Yeah, Drew?
You mentioned as one of the actions of the Commission this convergence of entrepreneur camps, looking at all the ones that are around. It wasn't clear to me what you want to do is to create a new one, sort of more European camp, because the ones I know are more sort of national camps, or you want to identify one and sort of bring that to a European level. It wasn't clear to me what is the idea, the action there. And in that context, more importantly, what I want to know is what do you expect from ongoing funded projects by the Commission, like the support action, EMC Square? What do you expect from these actions in that context? Do you expect any help or any?
It is more around the first line, so not necessarily to identify one and somehow promote, but more to, in the first phase, to identify as much as possible all, but that might be too much perhaps, the existing camps at the national level, like I mentioned, and engage with them and have in Digital Assembly 2012, if you want, a contest, where all the winners from these national camps are kind of competing with their idea against each other, and that we have, if you want, a European dimension, a European winner. And at that moment to also bring the VCs and mentors and promote and reward that one. We are still, I would say, at the early stage. Like I said, we want to have a third party to help us there, but to really, again, the same idea with the platform for crowdsourcing. We think that it's better to put a small amount of money and have a more professional organization. Obviously, we will be involved with the organization facility and let's say our project, the CSA, like EMC Square, will be also involved, and we hope to get their support there. But it's more have one at the European level. Yeah, I don't want to say create another one, but yeah, it might be too big. But that's the idea, to have a European, if you want, dimension, not a national, because otherwise there are already some. Thanks.
And do you expect that the new project proposals, 8-call or whatever is coming, have a more, you mentioned at the very beginning that the impact section of the new proposals are going to be more relevant than in the past. So do you expect that part related to entrepreneurs and camps and technology transfer be more relevant in the evaluation process?
Well, there are two things. So first, with that, for the calls, that will be, let's say, for our unit, and that will be, let's say, unfortunately, so will be only on our program 2013. But discussing with my colleagues, and for example, my colleagues in D, I see that they are also looking in that direction. That, for example, there was some mention like long-term research. Well, this long-term, for example, shouldn't be 10 years or 15 years. Should be rather 5 years with strong industrial partners and good chances of resulting in new products. So I think there is kind of trend now that a recognition, if you want, that the research needs to be if you want, connected with the chances and with innovation, and big chances to be, let's say, to result in new products. Because this is how, I mean, it's not the only thing, but this is, I would say, a good way to for the overall goal, which is the let's say the competitiveness of European industry. Okay, and obviously IPR, competencies, dissemination, they are all important, all needed. But in the end, this competitiveness is in the marketplace. How do you come with new products? How do you sell? So that's in the end how we do it. It boils down to that one. So yeah, that's.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, this does not seem to be the case. Then thank you very much again.